Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sound Money Matters Live. This is your host, Daniel Diaz, and we have a great show for you today. First, we're going to talk about what's going on in silver. It's been insane since the opening of the markets on Sunday, but we're also going to be bringing you an amazing guest, Patrick Holland of the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Patrick is a warrior for the sound money cause. It was because of him that the best sound money legislation in the world was passed in Missouri, the Constitutional Money Act. And without any further ado, let me bring Patrick onto the stage. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you met Jim, and he tragically passed away last year, but he had a tradition with new guests onto our program with two questions. I want to ask you the first question. I know you're going to knock this out of the ballpark. Why is sound money important?
Because any other kind of currency is fake. It's all credit. It's all debt. It's not money. So that's why sound money is important. Very specific. I wish I had a 5-minute answer for you. Everything else is fake. Everyone feeling the pain of inflation right now should understand that's because it's not real money. It's fake. It's currency. It's fiat.
It's currency. And for the audience, if you're watching for the first time, because 90% of our broadcasts typically are first-time watchers, we differentiate the difference between money and currency at Citizens for Sound Money. Adam Smith had three characteristics of money. The first is a medium of exchange. Anything can be a medium of exchange. This stapler, my phone, pennies, Bitcoin, nothing special. This hat over here that I usually wear, that could be a medium of exchange. Nothing special. The second characteristic of money is a unit of account. 2 hats, 5 pennies, half a Bitcoin, half an ounce of gold. Nothing really special about that. But what differentiates real money, as Patrick was saying, and currency is a long-term store value according to long term. The dollar is a short term store value. You get paid today, you can spend it, $100 and $100. But in 5 years, will those $100 get you the same thing? No. In 50 years, will that $100 get you the same thing? No. But gold and silver will, and that's why we define money as gold and silver. That has been money for 6,000 years. So, Patrick, before we dive into what's going on in the silver markets and how do we get into a parallel economy and opting out of the system, go ahead and share with the audience your background.
I have a kind of a strange background. I've been an activist in the state of Missouri for 30 years, almost 30 years. And a lot of people know me as the pro-life guy. Because I worked with Voice for Life and Missouri Right to Life to close down Planned Parenthood in Springfield. But then after that, I was the gun guy, because of the Second Amendment Preservation Act. We'll talk about that a little bit in your program as well, which carried the 10th Amendment anti-commandeering doctrine in it, which we incorporated into the Constitutional Money Act. So there is some history between two totally non-related bills that actually kind of sew together what we're going to talk about tonight, opting out of the system, right? And of course, after we got SEPA passed, or the Second Amendment Preservation Act in Missouri, which we're famous for, then we moved on to sound money legislation. And during the course of a 3-year period to get this bill done, learned a few tricks. And actually, as you say, we got very, very fortunate for Missouri. We got simply the best silver and gold legislation the world has ever seen before right here in my home state of Missouri. And that's really, really cool that it did go that way. We're inspiring other states to do the same thing as well. And so so I have a long activist background of being involved with government, and no, I'm not a politician. I've never run for anything, and I never will.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, you and I know that if you're watching and you've heard that government is corrupt and you've heard like the shenanigans that go on in DC, like you guys have no idea how bad it really is. I mean, it is like you have the Speaker of the House of Missouri at the time, Speaker Plockard, look at me straight in the eyes, shake my hand, and promised that the last day of session at 10 a.m., he was going to bring up the Constitutional Money Act for passage. He lied. He flat out lied, stabbed us in the back. And like there's just so many problems out there. And this is why Citizen Money, Missouri Freedom Initiative, we are out there fighting for the citizens to bring real money back as an option for you to be able to save your economic energy in something that isn't going to be losing value, where the government really just steals your wealth. Patrick?
Yep. And I want to say something, because what you said was actually very important. He did lie to you. And yes, he did stab you in the back, but he didn't do it because he didn't like the legislation. He did it because he was the darn bill was so popular, so incredibly popular in the Missouri legislature, that he was using it as leverage to get the Senate to hear corporatist House bills.
Yep.
So that's the distinction here. So I don't want people to get the impression that Dean Plocker didn't like the silver and gold bill or the Constitutional Money Act. I don't think that was the case. He recognized that we made it so popular, and everyone in the House and everyone in the Senate wanted it so bad that he was like, here's my leverage. I can get the corporatist bills that I personally sponsored through the Senate by holding on to the silver and gold bill until the last day, so I could get my stuff heard over in the Senate. And Bill Eigel wouldn't have it. If you remember, he simply wouldn't have it.
Bill Eigel is a constitutionalist. He refused to bow to the influence of the corporatists and the corporations. And like I tell people, we're no longer a republic. Since Citizens United, we become a corporatocracy. Those who have the money to pay for the lobbyists and donate to the politicians get access to the politicians and the ear of the politicians, and their bills usually get a priority. So before we digress and go really down that rabbit hole, I want to encourage everybody, if you're watching, go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you're enjoying this content and all the other videos and content that we've provided. It will really go a long way to helping the algorithm really promote this video. All right, so we talked about the Constitutional Money Act and how it is the best. Let's go quickly on why it's the best legislation in the world. You want to go ahead and go through the list?
Yep. Okay. First off, what Missouri got out of this bill, which we called the Constitutional Money Act, number one, first and foremost, was legal tender status for gold and silver. Now, this is important. Now, I know a lot of people that will say, hey, listen, we already have it in the Constitution, so we don't actually have to have it, basically in law. Well, businesses are less likely to touch gold and silver for transactions if you don't have legal tender status. And then something else that rides the coattails of that, which is getting rid of capital gains tax. In Missouri, we didn't have sales tax on gold and silver, but we did have capital gains. So that goes away automatically. It was written in the bill, but it would have gone away automatically because of the status, the legal tender status. But our bill did so much more than that. We did some really interesting things. Number one, we have anti-confiscation measures for gold and silver in the state of Missouri. Now, let me explain how this works. This is really important. This has to do with something called civil asset forfeiture. And other states are wanting to do this, and I encourage other states to do this. Just copy what we did in Missouri. It's well written. So if there is a confiscation order for gold and silver on the federal level, even there wouldn't be one on the state level because the law doesn't allow for it. So no one in the state can confiscate gold and silver, because of some decree from the governor or something else like that. What we're worried about is what's happened in the past, because there's been 3 separate times that the federal government did confiscation on gold. It has happened 3 times, the most famous of which is 1933 FDR. So what we wrote into the bill was that basically the state of Missouri would not help the federal government with any confiscation orders at all from the federal government. So that means Missouri manpower, Missouri law enforcement, political subdivisions like prosecutors and courts and such cannot help the federal government confiscate gold and silver. But we also wrote in there that the state has to uphold everyone's right to own gold and silver. So there's a little bit of gray area there. People say, well, what happens if the federal government comes in without any help from the state government and tries to confiscate? Well, that's where you make a phone call to your sheriff and say you're duty bound by law to protect my right to own gold and silver. Someone from the Treasury is at my door. They're saying they're here for my silver. But we also have a fast track through the court system to actually deal with this written into the bill as well. We also have anti-discrimination language for gold and silver written into the Missouri bill. So they can't make any state laws to favor, let's say, the dollar over gold and silver. That is not allowed. It can't happen. But equally, they can't say, it's anti-discriminatory all the way around. They can't discriminate against the dollar, in favor of gold and silver. So their anti-discrimination language was put in there. So gold and silver is safe, basically from being discriminated against as a currency for business, with the state of Missouri. We also put in a couple of other interesting things, one of which is that businesses can actually pay their employees in gold and silver if they wish to do so. Now, both parties have to be agreeable. This isn't a mandate from the state. This is simply a choice. The entire bill is a choice. That's another great thing. The federal government shoves using dollars down your throat. We don't do that in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Gold and silver is a choice. It's a choice for the state, and it's a choice for businesses. It's a choice for individuals. Now, there's one special thing we did that we haven't touched on yet, and that is the state of Missouri is now required, this is the only requirement, is now required to accept electronic gold and silver for payment of taxes if offered by the taxpayer. That is also brand new. No one's done this before either. So we kind of got the best of everything that we could get, minus a depository. So we didn't get that, but we got everything else we wanted.
You forgot two very important parts. One, employers can pay employees in gold and silver.
I did say that, actually.
Oh, did you? Okay, I missed that then. And the second thing was the Nazi language.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, now that is a joke. It should. We do have written into our bill that any gold or silver coin that bears any type of Third Reich or Nazi imagery would not be accepted as money in the state of Missouri. We refer to that as the Peter Meredith Amendment. We had a representative in Missouri, he's termed out, his name is Peter Meredith, who argued against gold and silver in 2023. This is famously on our Rumble channel, by the way. YouTube took it down. But he argued against gold and silver being used for money in the state of Missouri because he was representing the Democrat Party when he was talking about this. But he was very, very concerned about gold and from the Nazi Party ending up in circulation in the state of Missouri. Not only Nazi gold, but he complained about Confederate gold, MAGA gold, and something he called zombie apocalypse silver. And he was worried about all of these going into circulation in the state of Missouri. And this was his actual argument on the Missouri House floor. It was very embarrassing.
The first
very
year
embarrassing for our state.
In 2023.
Yes, that's correct. That was in 2023. We got all the way up to the finish line in 2023 and weren't allowed to cross. 2024, we got all the way up to almost up to the finish line, not allowed to cross. And then in 2025, Senator Mike Moon pulled a surprise act and actually amended the Constitutional Money Act onto a banker bill of all things.
Yes. And that was beautiful. That was a corporatist bill. That was a corporatist bill, and we were able to add sound money onto a banking bill, guys.
That's right. That's right.
That's how you have to maneuver. Look, the Constitutional Money Act wasn't moving in the Senate. It was moving in the House, but it needs to pass both chambers. So the Senator, what was his name again? Not Senator Moon. Rick Bratton, he added it as an amendment to a banker bill. I love it. The irony is amazing.
Yep. Irony can be pretty ironic sometimes. That's exactly how it got passed. It wasn't the grandiose idea that I had from the beginning where this is going to go all by itself. There's going to be no amendments. There's going to be no changes. It will go through the maze, the horrible concoction we call, the legislative process in the state of Missouri, which is really, really a pain in the butt, all by itself. Just like SEPA, the Second Amendment Preservation Act, before it, it was never meant to be. It was far too popular. And this is one thing I'll let you guys know. Anyone watching in any state, as much fun as it was to run gold and silver, and there was a lot of hard work involved. When you make a bill incredibly popular, there's good and there's bad with that. Number one, everyone wants it. Everyone wants it. Everyone wants to vote yes on it. But also, two, leadership sees it as something they can exploit. Yeah. And so to try and get bad things done in your state, basically, hey, you want this bill. Everyone wants this bill. They dangle that carrot. Well, you need to get our corporatist bills through over here first, and then we'll let you have this carrot. And that's essentially what they were doing with silver and gold. And that's certainly what they did with the Second Amendment Preservation Act back in 2021.
Yeah. And now we have the best sound money legislation in Missouri. We're using that as a model for other states. And, why are we doing this? Because one, gold and silver is money. And proof of that is what Abraham Taylor, 78575, says. Gold and silver prices spike are showing the cracks in the fiat system. People are starting to wake up to the fiat lies, right? So let me pull up what's happened in silver and gold just in the last few days. The gold price is at $4,495.60, and silver is sitting at $71.69. Now I have the Shanghai price. The Shanghai price is $1.40? No, a dollar, almost $1 more than the U.S. price. 72.67, 98 cents. So gold is firmer, and silver is sharply up, both hitting new record high. We're hitting record highs every single day. I was watching the silver price today; it went up $3 today. It's insane, and it's not because gold and silver is going up. Let's make that clear. It's because the dollar is dying. Fiat currency is dying around the world because they keep printing trillions and trillions and trillions of it. Derivatives are out there, and we're just losing the purchasing power, right?
And you're right. And they can't tighten monetary policy with this much debt out there. Guys, and I know a lot of talking heads on the internet talk about this, but it's really important to understand how did we get out of this in the late 70s, early 80s was by ratcheting up interest rates all the way up to 19 point something percent. We can't do that anymore. There's far too much debt out there. This would bankrupt banks, governments, and everyone in its path. If they ratcheted up to 19% right now, it would only take about 4 months for the entire credit system, the entire worldwide credit system to lock up, to freeze. Yep. And I mean, it wouldn't recover. I mean, actually, you'd be going into new currencies. That's how bad it is when you actually have that much debt and you try to bring up interest rates.
Yeah. So, Patrick, what is the solution if we can't, increase interest rates to to disincentivize borrowing or contract the currency? I mean, I know what the solution is for us. I want. What are your thoughts? What do you think the solution is for the future?
The solution is to go to silver and gold for money. I mean, that is it. There's really nothing. I've had people, when I was writing, our bill for Missouri, I had a lot of people approach me and say, we need to throw Bitcoin in there. I said, no, this is the Constitutional Money Act.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is still a fiat currency. It's still fiat. And no, it's not.
Fiat derivative.
Yeah. In fact, I used to argue with someone by the name of, some people will know him, and this was in the comment section of his videos. He turned them off for like a year because I was arguing with him. He said Bitcoin did in fact have intrinsic value, and it was the blockchain. Yeah. And I said, no, intrinsic. I can't melt down Bitcoin and use it in circuitry. I can't use Bitcoin in water filtration. I can't make pharmaceuticals with Bitcoin.
Right.
Like I can with silver in particular. But gold has, specific uses as well. But this is it. This is what the Constitution said money was. This is what the Bible says money is. Yeah. And man keeps trying to improve on God. And so we're not going to do it. Now, is there enough gold and silver in the world right now for everyone to use it as money? Not at these prices. They're going to have to go up a bit. And so that's exactly what you see happening right now. This is the failure of the US dollar. Now, the other currencies will fail with it. So a lot of people are saying this is the reset. Gold and silver prices going up right now is the actual evidence that there is a financial reset going on. I didn't agree with that at first, but I'm starting to actually give it a lot more credence because silver just keeps shooting up. Daniel, I've been in the silver game for 40 years, much longer than a lot of people who are in silver right now. And we're used to a pullback lasting 4 months, 5 months, and sometimes in some instances, a pullback lasting a year or two.
Yeah.
Pullbacks are lasting minutes now. Minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes.
It's crazy. It's like number go up right now, which is really dollar go down. And the solution, and this is why we do what we do at Citizens for Sound Money, to make gold and silver an option to use in your day-to-day commerce. Now, Brian Kerr 4512 says never use silver or gold for money now. Wait until the wait until cash is dead.
Agreed.
I would, I would argue that if you put like I have, all my wealth is in gold and silver, and I'm just waiting for, I have most of my wealth in these bullion digital accounts like Kinesis and UPMA and Glint. And once Kinesis has a debit card, I'm going to be using my real money and putting it all in gold and silver and spending it. I'll use a little bit of cash, but if I can turn all my cash into gold and silver, I have nothing else. It's just gold and silver, and I start using it as money. Now, if you don't have that option and you have a lot of cash, yes, it's Gresham's law. Good money drives out bad money. Mm-hmm. But if you want to make the full dive, I'm not. This is not. Let me put this disclaimer out there. Hold on 1 second. I got to put this out there.
Disclaimer. Disclaimer.
My views and the views of our guests are our own. It doesn't reflect the views of Citizens for Sound Money. I'm not telling you to put all your money in gold and silver and do what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what I've done and what I plan on doing. And yes, if you have dollars, spend the worthless dollars. But I want to preserve my economic energy. I want to have all my economic energy in gold and silver. And I'm 95, 98% there now. And once I can spend it, why wouldn't I? Right? Sure. So I just think that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. And by the way, I took it a little bit differently. Is basically don't spend your gold and silver until you have to. And right. So that's kind of the way I took it. And that's the way I believe in it too. So if you have to, yeah, do it. But guys, and once again, I have never, ever played this game where I'm chasing price of gold and silver. I have never done that before. You can even ask the Truth, Money, and Freedom people that I was with back in 2015. You could go back to our videos on YouTube. It wasn't about that for me. It was literally about escaping the system, escaping literally the matrix. That's what gold and silver is. It's a lifeboat. And any state that gets this legislation done is providing a lifeboat to their citizens.
Yes.
And so, and once again, businesses want to see the legislation to start transacting in gold and silver. They want the legal tender title. They want rid of capital gains taxes. Folks, this is really, really important. If your state has not made silver and gold legal tender, it's up to you. And folks like Daniel at Citizens for Sound Money can help you get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point out, if you want to support what we're doing, and you like what you're hearing, you want to bring sound money legislation to your state, we are launching a state chapter program, and you can join Citizens for Sound Money by going to our website, citizensforsoundmoney.org. And let me pull that up. You can go to citizensforsoundmoney.org and join. For as little as $25, you become a Pioneer member. And then once we get a state chapter in your state, we will have the state chair reach out and you guys can join. We'll do training. We'll teach you how to lobby. We'll even teach you on how to bring businesses into the sound money economy and teach them how to accept gold and silver. And if you want to become a Pioneer member, you will get a ½ ounce of digital silver from Kinesis. And both memberships give you access to metal markup. It is the best bullion aggregator to show you the cheapest bullion prices online, better than findbullionprices.com. All right. So, this is about opting out, right, Patrick? This is why we do what you do. And you not only are you opting out of the financial side of things, I've opted out of the financial side. There's also opting out of the system, red pilling, as you said, getting out of the matrix. And you are a homesteader. You're pretty much opted out. Share a little bit about that type of lifestyle, and what does opting out of the system really mean in different areas other than finances?
Okay, well, the first thing that most people associate with opting out of the system, especially on the homestead, is not paying the man anymore. So basically, doing as much as you can for yourself, of course. When it comes to sound money, that's a completely different aspect of it. But the homesteaders have always been proponents of silver and gold. So, and Daniel, when you were in Missouri, basically you got to meet, Travis Maddox, the Prepared Homestead folks. So you actually got to meet them and see they're just salt of the earth people. They're a big network of mine over here. So what does it mean to actually opt out of the system or get out of the matrix? And that means for me personally and for me professionally are two different things. For me professionally, it's about making sure that there are lifeboats, life preservers for people legislatively. And so the Second Amendment Preservation Act is another aspect of that. That's another bill that our group was involved in, and we're somewhat well known for. But basically saying that the federal gun laws will not be enforced in the state of Missouri. It's really that simple. There's more to it, and maybe I should talk more about it, but I don't want to take up a lot of time with it because we're engaging in that again basically this year because the Eighth Circuit overturned it because they were offended, Daniel. It wasn't unconstitutional. They were offended by the language of the preamble, which stated that the reason why we have the Second Amendment is to basically shoot politicians if they go tyrannical. And this is exactly what Thomas Jefferson actually wrote in a letter to a pastor.
That's what our founding fathers said.
Correct. And so the Eighth Circuit was offended by the language in the preamble that was not part of the actual law. It wasn't part of the bill. It was a preamble written into the bill to explain the purpose of the bill. And so it did not make it into law, but we had a clause, basically to go ahead and remove anything that was offensive, but they just overturned the whole bill instead. So it's just the Eighth Circuit, letting Pam Bondi actually is the reason we're not in the Supreme Court in 2026. That's another story. I think I sent you that article a while back.
Yeah.
So Pam Bondi isn't a big fan of the Second Amendment, but the people in Florida, I think, already knew that already. But so this is the Achilles heel of the entire system is the monetary supply. The guns come along with it too, it right along with free speech and everything else. But the purpose of sound money is basically to put your financial future back into your own hands and to keep them out of someone else's hands. There's no third-party risk with silver and gold. The third-party risk with the dollar is real, and people know it now because of inflation. We have a third-party risk, and that third-party risk actually is the Federal Reserve printing up more money. That's the third-party risk. Now, you want to talk about third-party risk for exchange. We don't have it with the dollar. The dollar's accepted everywhere in the world. But we have a third-party risk for the value of what that dollar can do for you from one day to the next. And that's the federal government and the Federal Reserve. They are, basically the purveyors of ill dispute here. They are destroying the dollar at a rate that I didn't think I would see in my lifetime. And it started with COVID. Now, they've been destroying it for a long period of time before then. But COVID, we saw incredible inflation. Apparently, Janet Yellen, who's supposed to be one of the smartest economists on the planet, said we were going to have transitory inflation by printing up an additional $6 trillion. What she forgot is that $6 trillion, once it went into the commercial banking network, would become $40 trillion very quickly. And that's through fractional reserve lending. That's exactly what happened. If you ever prepare for anything as a homesteader, you prepare for your finances. And gold and silver is really the only way to do it. Now, people say, nonsense, Pat. You can buy Bitcoin and make a lot of money on Bitcoin. Well, I don't know about that now, but that was true in 2017. Those picking up Bitcoin for $900 a piece are now selling them for, $100,000 a piece. But I'm not sure that store of value is going to hold, at least for right now. But
it's an investment.
It's a speculative investment. So let's actually assign that adjective to it. Gold and silver has never been speculative. They hold their purchasing power over time. They always have. And in fact, basically silver and gold that are going up right now, all that you're seeing happening is the release of financial tension from literally holding down silver and gold as long as they have. And silver should do quite well. Silver has really been molested. And by the way, I want to explain to people the chain of custody here. Because silver, a lot of people say, oh, JP Morgan. Yes, they're an agent of the government. But let me explain to you who runs the COMEX. It's not JP Morgan. They run the paper market, for the futures. But who runs the COMEX, who is in charge of the COMEX is actually the Treasury. Because it goes like this, from the Treasury to the Chicago Mercantile, and from Chicago Mercantile right to the COMEX. The U.S. Treasury, it doesn't matter which president you have in, has been suppressing the price of silver for a long, long time. It doesn't matter if it's an R or a D, they all do it. And they all did it to make the dollar look better. Now the dollar's not looking so good right now. So that's why when silver goes up, silver is the one they always compare to the dollar, not gold. oddly enough. So for some reason, silver's more synonymous with the dollar. Plata, silver, money, same word in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And so we should all remember that. So this spring that is literally letting loose right now on silver is quite amazing to watch. Is we're seeing $3 up a day is not a big deal anymore. It's normal. The pullbacks will last for maybe 30 minutes. And I remember pullbacks back in I'm going to say 2015. I remember pullbacks lasting for 8 months. 8 months. And now they're like 30 minutes. So
it's crazy.
It's like watching 2015 on fast forward on an old VCR. This is really quite amazing to watch, but at the same time, I want to remind folks that means the dollar is dying.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who think, okay, silver's getting released, basically good things are going to start happening. No, it's a harbinger of financial devastation with the dollar, unfortunately. Yeah. And if you see, go ahead.
No, finish.
If you see silver at $250 and you think, oh yeah, awesome, I'm rich. Look at the world around you when it's $250, and I guarantee you're not going to like a whole lot of what you're seeing. But it is a good idea for people to actually invest in gold and silver, even though we are not financial advisors, because silver and gold are going to continue to go up because the dollar is continuing to go down.
Yep. 100%. So what I'd like to do, Patrick, is there's somebody who watches regularly. Enough is enough. 80. He has some good questions. I want to go one by one with them. You mentioned and hinted at this about the federal government just destroying the dollar. Now, we wanted to get the depository and have the state put some of its funds. I'm trying to get that done too through citizen money to put a certain at least 10% of their budget into gold and silver. And if they do that, they don't have to worry about the mismanagement of the currency.
That's right.
And so enough is asking, will states use gold and silver to fill the budget gaps? We hope so. We want them to. Well,
we tried to do that in Missouri. It's our treasurer, Vivek Malik, that wouldn't let it happen. But let me explain to you a little bit here. For purposes, there's different kinds of depositories, and there's different visions for how it would happen. But the fact of the matter is, I feel that most states will end up doing depositories organically in the next 3 years or so anyway. And you don't even have to write legislation for it. They'll go ahead and do it because they will see. And by the way, enough is enough. I love your question here because it reminds me of something. I don't know what state you're in, but I'll bet you my bottom dollar that your state is actually holding bonds for their reserves, for their pension funds. And they're probably 10-year bonds. And it's probably paying about 4.17% right now. Look how much silver's gone up in the last year. It's like 140%.
Yeah.
140% versus the 4% they're getting on the bonds. Mm-hmm. So what Daniel said is actually really important. If they had 10% in silver and gold, they wouldn't have to worry about the dollar losing value on the bonds that they hold for the other 90% quite as much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is actually any financial advisor will tell you a certain percentage of silver and gold. Our state should do the same.
We didn't plan this, but that's a perfect segue to his next question. Then what happens if and when foreign nations that own our debt call those notes in?
Actually, I don't know how to answer that question because actually the foreign nations that own our debt is federal debt. I don't know that they're owning a lot of state debt. So
no, it's not state debt, but what happens is if they start calling it in, well, the U.S. government is going to have to print more currency, so they're going to have to borrow more debt to pay the interest and the dollar. It's going to be a never-ending cycle. So they buy our bonds. They give us currency, we give them bonds, and we owe interest. Now, if they start coming in, that's why they try to refinance and change and extend it out. So they try to lower the rate so they don't have to pay out those debts. So if all the countries start dumping it, there's two different markets. There's the primary market where they buy directly from the Treasury and the open market. And then there's a secondary market where people are buying and selling. Now, if they all come in at the same time and we don't refinance that debt and decrease interest rates, it's what we talked about earlier, what Patrick said. If they increase interest rates on the debt and we go to 19% to try to bring down inflation, we're going to go bankrupt. It doesn't work. So that's what happens when those foreign nations call the debt in the primary market, and we don't do something. The federal government doesn't do something. It's a death loop financially. They print more currency, so they have to pay off the previous debt. And if we don't have the interest rate lower, then the federal government has to pay out more interest, and they have to borrow more. It's just an endless cycle. It's a debt cycle that's never going to end. It's going to collapse the system, and that's what's happening right now. And that's why silver and gold is skyrocketing.
Yeah. What about carry trade though? I wonder if they can, because we do have that with Japan. So we can trade our bonds for their bonds in order to satisfy, settling accounts at the end of the year between businesses. I think Japan might be the only country the United States does carry trade with. But then again, my information's from 2018. That's the last time I looked into that.
Yeah.
But you once again, a good point. I'm sorry, I was thinking about state bonds. I wasn't necessarily thinking about federal bonds. But Daniel is right. They will have to print. If they want to cash in that debt and literally say, we want money. And they may say to the United States government, we prefer to have it in silver and gold. And, but you know what? They keep saying that they've audited Fort Knox, but they've not given us any data on that yet. I think what we have in Fort Knox is partial gold, tungsten gold, something like that. But if we had the gold that we claim to have, we would have taken pictures of it and we'd have been bragging about it.
Yeah, but it went silent, which tells me something happened.
1953. 1953 is the last time the Fort Knox was audited, Daniel.
Yep.
So just
remember when Musk was heading out there was a whole hoopla. They were going to check it out. Well, he landed. Nothing happened. That tells me they don't have it all.
Yeah.
So,
they don't have it. They're trying to get it.
So I just wanted to do one plug. So our moderator, our director of operations, he put this out there. The best price on transactional prepper silver, fractional 10th ounce silver, could be, it is on the C4SM shop right now. So I want to show you, if you guys want to buy some fractional gold and silver, support the mission of Citizens Sound Money, you can go to our website, citizenssoundmoney.org. We have transactional gold and silver. Let me actually do this right here. We have transactional gold and silver. We have Kinesis bills. We're going to have gold backs on here soon. So if you want to buy some 1/10 ounce silver, this is a 10-ounce bag. These are fractional gold bills that you can buy for Christmas. It's too late for Christmas, but we can do for New Year's Eve gifts or New Year's gifts. You can go ahead to Citizens Sound Money. All the proceeds go to supporting our mission. All right, Patrick. So we talked about the silver prices. We've answered questions. We talked about opting out. I'm a bit of a prepper. I got gasoline. I got at least 4 months worth of food. I got water. I got a ton of ammo. And we talked about the financial opting out of the system, because if things go wrong, you want to be prepared. Even if they don't go wrong, if the shit doesn't hit the fan, it's smart to prep and smart to have physical gold and silver and some extra cash and ammo and everything in case of a natural disaster, tornadoes, hurricanes.
Don't forget your medical supplies.
Medical supplies. Mm-hmm. So, how would you like to wrap this up and within the context of everything that's going on in the economy and opting out and having a parallel system?
Yep. Well, the parallel system is just as much a physical thing that is a mental thing. But what we would like to see here in the United States is a secondary transactional network set up, with gold backs, Kinesis bills, metal marks, the bills that Daniel was actually showing on the screen just a little bit ago, along, with the possibility of using silver as well. The fact of the matter is you can actually interact with businesses with these things and get your change back in regular, American change, and actually start the financial networks. But the electronic side is very interesting as well. And that's something we've not talked about at all. And that's where you can really get fractional with your gold and silver. For instance, buying a cup of coffee, with gold and not having to take change back. So, there are everyone seems to think, well, you can't run gold and silver because no one wants to use coins. But for every single way that we transact with fiat right now, we have access to with gold and silver, including electronic. So this is something that I'm sure that you talk about on your show, but it does exist here in the heartland. Basically people prefer the physical. They really like it here. I meant just having the physical silver and gold in their hand. They feel much better with it than an electronic version. But the electronic is going to be important too, gang, because how else are you going to be buying your stuff on eBay? You're not going to be sending physical gold and silver in the mail to purchase something on eBay. You're going to use an electronic version of silver and gold. So that's an important aspect of it too. But keep us in mind if you're curious about the Second Amendment Preservation Act. That's our next big project that we'll be doing. We've already done it once before, and now we have to do it again because of the Eighth Circuit Court in Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is an interesting creature. But at the same time, I am very much looking forward to actually getting SEPA accomplished once again. And it's something that will also, we're on the map now with the Constitutional Money Act in Missouri. And so we're just going to go ahead and get SEPA back now as well. It's very important that people understand why we do what we do. And by the way, my organization is a very strange one because we don't have any official organizational structure. We don't take donations. We don't have bank accounts. We don't even have a registered name. The Missouri Freedom Initiative is the name of our organization. But the reason that is because we have incredible freedom up in the Capitol. Lobbyists don't get as much freedom as we do. We're just regular citizens that we all come together under the banner of 3 words found in the American Dictionary, Missouri Freedom Initiative. And we go up in large numbers up to the Capitol. And yes, we're coordinated. We're organized. But we don't take donations. We don't have an official organization. So it's really, really hard for them to come after us or try to buy us off. So basically, we have a lot of respect up at the Capitol for that reason. And in fact, a little bit of fear towards us as well, because we can't be controlled. So this is probably one of the reasons why the Constitutional Money Act was able to get done. But at the same time, if Missouri can do it, there's no reason any other state can't get something very similar done. And I do encourage people to get involved at the state level. And this is my final word, and this has to do with prepping as well. Don't spend your time on the federal news. I mean, all it's going to do is serve to frustrate you. Nothing can be done there. I mean, they're too bought and paid for. Your state is worth saving. And once your state is gone, if you haven't taken care of your state, you're going to have to move to another one where people did take the time to take care of their state. So take care of your state and do it with silver and gold legislation. That's my advice to you.
Absolutely. And then let's end with this comment. Patrick Holland, Daniel Diaz, awesome to see you, gentlemen. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Annie Oakley 779. Merry Christmas to all of you. And this is the end of our broadcast. We try to keep it around 40 minutes, everyone. Thank you, Patrick, so much for coming on. I mean, you are a champion for the Sound Money movement. If guys follow Patrick on X, it is Missouri Libert, Libet, number 2. Let me type that in there. So
that's
go
right.
ahead.
You're right. It's at Missouri Libert, Libert, and the number 2. And so we're on Twitter, and we comment quite a bit on gold and silver. We comment on several other things going on, but we're also going to be talking about SEPA here literally in the next week or 2. So we'll have a huge presence on what the Second Amendment Preservation Act and how everyone can actually protect their right to bear arms in their state with simple legislation like we're about to do in Missouri.
Absolutely. Well, all right, guys. Thank you for watching this episode of Sound Money Matters Live. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Enjoy your family. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. That's what I celebrate as a Cuban. Y'all probably celebrate Christmas, but thank you all. We will catch you on our premiere. We're interviewing Josh Alley, the CEO of Metalmark. It's a great episode. We talk about other fractional gold and silver. You saw Kinesis. We have Goldbacks, and there's also Metalmarks. All right, everyone. God bless you all, and thank you so much again, Patrick.
Hey, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless you all.
God bless.